with another player on that last play. You realize that if that happens, if Joe Burrow has half a second more, they win the Super Bowl. Jamar Chase had left Jalen Ramsey, who I believe was on the turf, wide open, and Burrow hits him. There's nobody around Jamar Chase. They score a touchdown and win the Super Bowl. And it wouldn't have worked out, and now look at to where they are. I think that's kind of the standpoint that Jerry's taking, that, look, they made the risks, and hey, they got the reward. But it very easily could have gone the other way, and Jerry would rather be very close and having an opportunity each and every year to hopefully, have some things that maybe you can make some tweaks like they thought with T.Y. Hilton maybe this year to get him to that place. That's where I would rather be personally.
For me, that statement told me everything that I've needed to know about how they have gone about team building, it appears now, for the last decade. Because if he would like to remain in the middle and hope at some point...
You think that they've been poor at team building?
I think they've done well at drafting. I think overall, as an organization, they have been, I'll use the word incomplete when it comes to roster building, because we know how well that they've drafted over the last several years. You look at Zach Martin and Travis Frederick.
Where are the misses on this team? Where are the weaknesses of this team?
Right now, wide receiver, corner. You need a second corner. You could go get another linebacker.
All the corners have been drafted by the team, right?
Trayvon Diggs. I mean, the Calvin Joseph thing isn't necessarily working right now.
LaShawn Wright, Deron Bland.
Wright. But for those, and for
Jordan Lewis.
Yeah, Deron Bland had
Anthony
a nice
Brown.
rookie year. Anthony Brown most likely won't be around. He's a free agent going into this offseason.
A lot of that's injuries, but but that's drafting.
Mm-hmm.
So, can you go get a free agent corner? How often do they move to where, I would say Philadelphia did a really good job, and that's part of the reason why we're there. So I would agree with you, getting Darius Slay.
And they picked up James Bradbury off the street.
Yeah.
So I think for me, when I look and I listen to Jerry Jones and I watch, the Rams and the Bucks and other teams who have gotten themselves into this position, even with the scenario with the Rams having been, within a play of losing the Super Bowl, guess where they were at? They were in the Super Bowl because they had taken some chances and some risks to really get there. Now, this team hasn't been anywhere near the NFC title game, let alone the Super Bowl. And it just seems like to me that Jerry would rather...
Well, they've been one game away twice, and that's, getting close. That's only good in whatever that line is, horseshoes and hand grenades,
That's
whatever
right.
it is. And look, it's not that I disagree with you. It's that when you look at like the Rams trip to just getting to the Super Bowl, like, they were almost upended by Tampa Bay and maybe should have been, right? There was an interception, I think, thrown by maybe Jimmy Garoppolo or one that should have been caught that wasn't, that Stafford threw in the NFC title game, if I remember that correctly, that, they have not played well enough to get there. But I think what Jerry's talking about here is we want to build a good team without having to basically try to win the lottery. That's what I think he's trying to say here. Not trying to get rich by, going after and buying, $100,000 worth of lottery tickets.
Which is very interesting because that's a departure from the Jerry Jones of old, right?
But when that happened, there was no salary cap. When you went and got Charles Haley, when you went and got Deion Sanders.
Mm-hmm. And I think there's still ways that you can be able to do some of that. We've seen how teams like the Eagles and the Rams, among other teams, the Bucs have been able to manipulate the salary cap to make it bend to their will in order to be able to have teams competitive. Now, part of that, too, is in the Eagles' case, you were able to capitalize on a window with Jalen Hurts on a rookie deal. The Kansas City Chiefs were able to do a lot of the same with Patrick Mahomes before paying him. Even if you look at the Bucs and the Rams, the Bucs bringing in a guy in Tom Brady still had a lot of skill guys around him to make it happen. My point being, the Cowboys, if they want to go for it, no one's going to begrudge them if they decide to go all in and go and try to win a Super Bowl. Because I think here's the biggest misnomer about...
But wouldn't you say that the greatest dynasty that the NFL has ever seen went exactly opposite in a strategy that you're describing right now?
Which would be?
The New England Patriots.
See, now, the only reason why I would disagree on that is because they had the greatest quarterback in the sport. And you had arguably the greatest coach in the sport as well.
Yeah, but as much as Tom Brady, and no one is going to argue the greatest in the sport, we look at Tom Brady as the greatest in the sport because of his success, not because of any unbelievable, I think most people would say, well, who's a more talented athlete or player at the position between he and Rodgers? I think a lot of people would say, well, probably Aaron Rodgers. Mm-hmm. But Tom Brady just did everything so well with his timing and his accuracy. He didn't have the biggest arm, but he could throw in bad weather. He was so technically sound, all those things, with great teams around him. Tom Brady is the biggest reason why the Patriots won those Super Bowls, but he was one of the reasons, not the reason. And I think that's why I come back a little bit on that.
From the 630, next time Jerry says he would do anything and pay anything for another Super Bowl, just replay this clip and tell him he admitted that is not the case. Their philosophy is build a team to be relevant every year, to keep the brand strong and valuable, then hope you get lucky. And maybe.
Well, see, here's where I would come back on that text. Wouldn't you say that you're looking to be lucky more if you try to do something like the Rams did last year?
I think the risk-taking is what gets you in a position to possibly capitalize on whatever quote-unquote luck that you're looking for. And the Cowboys seem unwilling to do that.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from, and I get it. And I do also get why most of the Cowboys fans, the great majority of them, think and feel that way. Again, and I'm just going back to my thoughts on the things that they have not done and proven me wrong. Jaron Kearse, Malik Hooker, these guys that they brought in last year that played, a big role in their defense. Guys that are still continuing to play a big role. Dorrance Armstrong, who came over, a few years ago. I think that, have they brought somebody over and had them turn into a star? Well, I guess Robert Quinn kind of having that huge year and then getting a big deal. I just, how much can you say it works out by leveraging your future, by going after it just for one season? I don't know how much I'd much rather be the Buffalo Bills than I would be, the Los Angeles Rams right now.
I just want the Super Bowl in the back pocket. Because it's been too long for
one
of those. And I'm sure Buffalo wouldn't mind having that Super Bowl trophy, even with the state that the Rams are in, because eventually the Rams feel like they'll get back there.
And the 2-1-4, this is another great point when we talk about this with Super Bowls and championships. We're doing it right. One team can win it all each year. That's it.
So to get right, we're Reggie KG right here on 105 through the Fan. Coming up next, a little GOAT index, Will Chambers. Is that right?
Workshopping. I don't know if it's what you call it, not a theorem, but what do they have in like what Facebook is and Twitter and all that they use a
complicated relationship status?
Algorithm.
No,
algorithm. Thank you, Larry. I don't know if we can call it an algorithm, but I was workshopping it today. So the GOAT index with quarterbacks, we'll see if you agree on trying to figure this out.
We'll do it next on The Fan.
Blasting out 100,000 watts of FM sports talk power and streaming 24/7 on the Odyssey app. This is DFW Sports Station 105.3 The Fan.
There is a reason you need a special license to drive a big truck. So companies that hire drivers and put them in a big truck should be held accountable for what happens when one hurts you. Frankly, you need Frankel and Frankel. The consultation, it's always free. Visit truckwreck.com.
So get right with Reggie KG right here on 105.3 The Fan. Kevin Gray, Will Chambers, Larry Flores on the down for you here on your Turn It On, Leave It On station. Really appreciate you joining us on Odyssey and the Odyssey app. The truckwreck.com text line 877-881-1053, 877-881-1053 if you want to get in on the conversation. Mavericks handling business so far at the American Airlines Center. A sleep-deprived Pelicans team sleepwalking in the first half as the Mavericks are up by over 20 as Luka Doncic so far tonight has 21 points on 7 of 11 from the field. Mavericks taking the Pelicans as light work tonight at the AAC. We'll keep you up to date on everything happening at the American Airlines Center. But I'm going to turn it over to my partner this evening because looking forward to this conversation. The quote-unquote GOAT Index, looking at how we historically measure the best quarterbacks that have ever played the game. Is that right?
Yeah. I was just thinking about, the way that we look at quarterbacks and talking about how, we gauge them. I mean, we're all in agreement now that Tom Brady has earned the distinction as the GOAT, right?
Agreed.
And, you and I were talking about this with Jared Sandler before we were doing Rangers Hot Stove, and this is not a point of this conversation because I would agree with him when he said, well, if somebody wants to make an argument that Patrick Mahomes is one of the 5 best quarterbacks ever to play the position right now, I'm not going to sit there and argue with you. You know what I mean? But when I take you through how I assessed all this, he doesn't have enough to qualify, for all of these. So, I think that in order to give a full assessment, that you do have to take an entirety of a career, or at least close to thereof. Aaron Rodgers will be in here in order to get, a good enough gauge. Okay? So with those elements, we can put like the Mahomes stuff aside, at the moment. I took 8 elements and to try and decide what are the biggest factors and what makes you looked at as the greatest at your position.
Okay.
Especially because it's quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
The one I put at the top was MVP. Do you agree with that?
Okay, so let me go back to my list because I remember how I answered this a little bit earlier, and I want to make sure that I don't forget. So, okay. In order I went, for me at the top is all pros.
Okay, now, I'm not saying that. I'm going to disagree with you, but I think it's an interesting point because, as an example, while I was doing this research, John Elway has an MVP. Let me look here to make sure. He does not have an All-Pro, which means in 1987, and this is first team. Joe Montana was first team All-Pro. He was second team. So we're talking about first team.
Yeah.
But, if you look at just from Football Reference,
sure.
If they at the bottom, when you look at their page and they say all pros,
right,
they don't put you in there if you were a second team. It's got to be first team.
Okay.
And he was second team, but he won the MVP.
Wow. Okay.
Isn't that wild?
Okay.
So, which I think lends to your point a little bit, and I think it's a tight race right there. And I know a lot of people will be like, well, no, it's a number of championships.
Yeah.
I have number of championships third here. Because, again, and this goes off a little bit of the conversation that we were talking about a few minutes ago, that, championships mostly on the quarterback, but it's very much a team, I think, statistic. So I have MVPs, All-Pros, Super Bowls / championships as my top 3.
Same. I just have them in different order. I have All-Pros, MVP, Super Bowls is my 3 in order there.
From there, the 4th most important to me was Super Bowl MVPs.
Okay, we agree there. Same.
Then I have conference championship wins. So essentially Super Bowl appearances. Now, this gets a little bit tricky because when you're bringing in some of the older folk, like the Otto Grahams of the world or, Y.A. Tittle, Johnny Unitas, there was a playoff round, like a divisional round, and then there was a championship, right? So that does exclude, but yards, touchdowns, then wins, and my order of importance on those top 8.
Okay, so I have all pros, MVPs, Super Bowl MVPs. Those are my top 4. I have wins as 5th, conference titles as 6th, yards and touchdowns. That would be my order there.
The reason why I have wins at the bottom is because I hate it when we look at quarterbacks that have, that like losses, right? Dak Prescott has a number of games in which he threw for over 400 yards. And the Cowboys lost the game.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay. Is Dak the reason why you lost the game? No, right? It was clearly your defense and not being able to stop the other team, right? So that's why I put it there in level of importance. Plus, when you look at an entirety of somebody's career, how effective were they? How many yards did they throw for? How many touchdowns? Now, they're closer to the bottom, but that's why I have them above wins. But anyway, with that... So those were the ones that I put as far as level of importance. And 877-881-1053, truckwreck.com text line. If you're thinking I'm missing something in there because there weren't interceptions, completion percentage, stuff like that, let me know what you think about it. Because, again, I'm just workshopping this. So how I assessed points here. Let's take if you won the MVP. I made it a 10-point thing. 10 points for winning the MVP.
Okay.
If you won multiple MVPs, like 2, you'd have 20, but I also added 2 because you have 2 of those.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So
all right.
It's actually 22.
Got it. Okay.
If you won 3 MVPs...
You get 3.
Right. And so it'd be 33.
Okay.
Okay. Right. So it was a 10-point metric. With all pro selections, I did it with a factor of 7, doing it in the same ways. Super Bowls / championships was 6, Super Bowl MVPs 5, conference championships 4. When it came down to yards, I would take your total amount of yards and then divide it by 1,000. So, if you had 88,000 yards, 88 would be your number.
All right.
I did the same thing when it came to wins and touchdowns, except I would just divide by 10. Like Aaron Rodgers has 559 total touchdowns, so his number is 56.
All right.
Okay? So that makes... Are you following me here now?
Yep, I got you.
Okay. So now let's put this theory to test.
Okay.
And to see how everybody came out. And... Here are the quarterbacks that were in the top that qualified for all this. And if I missed anybody again, any omission, please, let me know. You got Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning, Joe Montana, Brett Favre, Dan Marino, John Elway, Drew Brees, Johnny Unitas, Kurt Warner, Troy Aikman, Steve Young, and I wrote down Roethlisberger, but I didn't compute because he's missing in a couple of areas that I didn't think he was going to get up there enough.
Okay.
Are there any quarterbacks that were omissions that you can think of? I know it's, just top of your mind, so that could be difficult to do, but...
I think you're good on there. I think that's probably the consensus for most in terms of who the best quarterbacks of all time are. Without, going super deep, I think those are the ones that, off the top of their head, I think you'd be okay there.
Okay. So, as we'd all expect... Tom Brady in this equation, algorithm, whatever have you, came out number 1 by a substantial margin.
Sure.
Number 2 was Peyton Manning.
Okay.
Number 3, Johnny Unitas.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Number 4 is Aaron Rodgers. Number 5 is Brett Favre. Number 6, Montana. 7, Brees ahead of Elway and Marino, followed by Steve Young, Kurt Warner, Troy Aikman, and those 12. Now, if you were to ask me, again, I'm just workshopping this. I'm saying I'm not going like, this is what determines. I have no, because if you tell me right now, I got Brees ahead of Elway and Marino and Steve Young, be like, I don't know if I really think that. But you also have to think of the fact that, in those days, Marino was the only one putting up the numbers that quarterbacks now put up. And he doesn't have any of the Super Bowls, which Elway, Montana do. So that kind of balance is out there. But the real surprise to me was how much Johnny Unitas.
Yeah, him coming in third based on your formula and metric there, I found a little bit surprising because I thought Joe Montana would have been well within the top 3 when it came to the way that you had put this together. And to see Unitas here is very interesting.
Will has to be drinking the good bourbon to come up with this complex formula. Let me tell you something. Like you all, I've been at home for 3 days.
Yep.
A
lot of time on the hands.
I try to get as much work as I could do from home done. And then finally my brain is just like, let's see if I can, work this. So the total of points, it was 438 points for Tom Brady. Peyton Manning, who I mentioned was at number 2, had 336. So Tom had over 100 more. 3 here is Johnny Unitas with 234. And here, taking you back to, okay, so what did Unitas do? Well, Unitas, he had 5-team All-Pro, which got him to 49 points. Not going to go through the whole equation again. Unitas had 311 touchdowns. Had 3 MVPs, 4 championships. Also had 124 wins. So you think about that, let's just look at, say, Troy Aikman, 194 touchdowns. The 311, that's right around Steve Young. Mm-hmm. That's more than Kurt Warner, but we know Kurt Warner came into the league, a little bit later, but it's a lot of, the 4 championships as well as, some of the wins in there. So anyway, it was a bit of a surprise when I looked at it, and I'm not saying that this is proving anything.
It's a very interesting way of putting it together because it teaches you what do you value most when it comes to evaluating a player's career relative to not only his talent, but how he accomplished what he did on the field and what you value as the most important in that conversation. And,
some of the things that I mentioned, John Elway is one of the best quarterbacks of all time, no question. Has 0 All-Pro teams. First team. 0.
Yeah, that's wild to me.
That is crazy to me.
John was never a first-team All-Pro player.
Peyton Manning has 7 of them.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers has 4. Mm-hmm. Even that discrepancy is pretty big. Tom Brady only has 3. Yeah. Tom Brady is the GOAT. He's got 4 less first-team All-Pros than Peyton Manning. So I felt when I looked at the list, I'm like, I think that's a pretty fair, the draw out and what it came to be. Like I said, I don't know if I would necessarily agree totally with it, but I think, okay, it didn't totally eliminate all the older guys, like having Johnny Unitas third. And also, it didn't have... I think where it definitely has skewed when you look at the 3 of the top 4 are ones that have been in the league the last 25 years, in which the passing game has elevated a great bit. But again, like I said, having Johnny Unitas in there at 3 kind of equals a lot of this stuff out.
So get right with Reggie KG right here on 105 through the fan. Nice little exercise there. Just going through some.
I am an idiot.
You gave yourself some more credit for coming up with all that during the snowstorm that we've been dealing with. We'll go around the NFL next on 105 through the fan.
Coming up on the next KNC Masterpiece, we got Brian Broaddus rocking with us all show long. Plus, Jerry and Steven say it's Dak, but what would you sell Cowboys fans on for 2023? And it's a Friday, so you get your shout-outs and Masterpiece of the Week. You got to tune in. 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on the fan.
Brian Broaddus Marathon Bet Payoff. Tomorrow, as he hops on the air with Sean and RJ at 5:30 until the end of the Get Right at Night. 16 hours straight of Brian Broaddus. Tomorrow on 105.3, The Fan and the Odyssey app.
Y'all make sure y'all support our man Brian Broaddus tomorrow, okay? Because he's going to have himself a long day. It's the Get Right or Reggie KG on 105 through The Fan. Kevin Gray, Will Chambers, Larry Flores holding it down for you here. Yes, 16 hours of Brian Broaddus, Sean and RJ, KNC Masterpiece, his own show, the G-Bag Nation, and then he gets to hang out with myself and Chris Arnold to finish off his day tomorrow from 7 to 9 p.m. So send your thoughts and
You need a lot of carbs there.
Look, man. Woo! The G-Bag Nation, we're going to go around the NFL here in just a moment. The G-Bag Nation been on one with these whole bet payoffs this year, whether it be during the regular season, the playoffs as well. He's going to be doing some crazy hours tomorrow.
At what hour will Brian snap at someone? Good question.
I think he'll hold it together. Now, well, let me back up.
No.
And Sean might get him, him and Sean, they, good friends like each other, but Sean, might find a way to get Brian to, pop off a little bit.
How I look
especially
at it,
with Bobby Belt in the building as well.
Yeah. But by the time we get to the 2:00 hour, we always seem to lash out and get the angriest at the people that we are closest to, right? Would you say that?
Okay.
Boy, it could be wild in the G-Bag
Follow
Nation.
might say the wrong word. Next thing you know, I go Brian Broaddus.
It could be a Dawson Broaddus showdown.
Let's go around the NFL right here on the Get Right at Reggie KG on 105 through The Fan. For the 940, the worst thing about this weather is waiting 3 days for Chick-fil-A to open.
And let me mention something real quick before we get to this around the NFL. I think I just found and read the most insane series of tweets. And it's not anything that we didn't know, but I just retweeted it at _Will Chambers. And it is a thread that, did it come from Bleacher Report Walk-Off? It's from, BR Walk-Off. And it is Barry Bonds stats that will blow your mind, a thread. And I promise you, they will blow your mind. We were going over it during the break, and we're laughing at some of the things. You're like, no way. This is just no way. Anyway,
we'll definitely get to some of that for sure.
Okay.
Let's start with the NFL Network's Ian Rappaport around the NFL. Are the Colts, Ian, about to engage in a third round of interviews for their head coaching job?
Yeah, some more hurry up and waiting for the Indianapolis Colts. They're interviewing Aaron Glenn for a second time. Of course, the Detroit Lions defensive coordinator, very well respected. Sounded like he did really well the first time. He is there a second time today. And then Shane Steichen, the Eagles offensive coordinator, expected to have a second interview later this week, either Friday or Saturday before the Eagles head to the Super Bowl, which you would think would mean that's time for the Colts to wrap it up. But you would probably be wrong. According to Mike Garafolo and myself, the Colts are likely to do a third round of interviews, which I think would be unprecedented. I have scoured the Twitterscape, and I have not seen any other team doing a third round of interviews. So potentially they will have 2 or 3 actual finalists and then pick a coach at some point in probably the not very near future.
Okay. I love how Ian Rappaport sources himself. According to Mike Garafolo and myself.
Yeah. That is... It's a good point.
You ever notice that? Hey, my man stays sourcing himself.
Or when
it comes to these reports.
When you quote yourself. Who did that? Somebody within the last few years. I think Rick Riley did or something like that. So I don't want to, I'm not trying to take any shots here at Aaron Glenn because I really have no idea. But it just surprised me when I heard Detroit Lions defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Not exactly the greatest defense. And I don't know if it's necessarily a reflection on him. They're lacking talent in a lot of different areas, right? They got rid of Darius Slay. They did go out. They're Hutchinson.
Yeah, Aiden Hutchinson was a monster this year. Yeah,
just a fantastic year. And they definitely need more players there. It just surprises me. Usually it's, a coordinator that's coming off of a season in which their side of the football was ranked amongst the best, in the league.
He's been a name that's been hot in previous years. Not necessarily so much this year. I think it's more of a dark horse name this year.
I mean, is Ben Johnson getting any love?
For head coaching jobs?
Yeah. I mean, damn.
OC jobs, yes. In fact, a lot of folks want Ben Johnson around here as the offensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys. I got news for you. It's not going to be him. In my humble opinion, it's not going to be him. I'm just waiting on the news for Brian Schottenheimer to be named offensive coordinator right here in Dallas.
Yeah, probably.
That's all I'm waiting for. But Ben Johnson's a hot name right now, given the fact that he has got Jalen Hurts in the Super Bowl, and he used to work with Dak Prescott when he was at Mississippi State, and Dak Prescott had his 2 best years at Mississippi State under Ben Johnson leading the way there.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all right. That's interesting. I was just looking, him up a little bit. I mean, look at what he did with Jared Goff. Jared Goff hadn't been that productive except for flashes during, I think that Super Bowl run that year. I mean, that matchup with he and Patrick Mahomes is one of the best games I've ever seen in my life. And he was terrific, but he didn't really sustain a whole lot of that. And he had a fabulous year last year. And this whole thing about the Dak Prescott deal, like I remember on the G-Bag Nation, I think it was Wooly Bully had brought up Dan Mullins, coming in because of familiar. I'm like, no. No one wants that offense here. And Dak Prescott was a very, very different quarterback in college than he is now. Very different.
Speaking of defense, the NFL Network's seeing Rappaport a wealth of information here because the Saints are about to shake up their defensive side of the ball in them right in.
Yeah, Dennis Allen, the head coach, obviously a defensive head coach, is one of the better defensive coordinators in the league. Still going to call plays, but changing out the defensive side of the ball. Chris Richard, who is the co-defensive coordinator, they have parted ways. That happened yesterday afternoon. Just, I would say, philosophical differences there. Nothing major. Just Dennis Allen wanted to go in a different direction rather than have Chris Richard be the full-time coordinator. He is now out. And Joe Woods, the former Browns defensive coordinator, according to colleague Tom Pelissero and myself, interviewing for the New Orleans Saints, has really been one of the better secondary coaches in the league over the last decade or so. And this is an interesting distinction because DA, as they call him, is still going to call the defense. So Joe Woods would come in, kind of lend a hand, work a lot with the secondary, maybe do what he does best. Would seem to be a good hire if, in fact, this is the direction the Saints go.
Chris Richard's out in New Orleans as their co-defensive coordinator. I'm sure he'll land a job somewhere else.
Wasn't that long ago when there were many of us here in the DFW media landscape that thought Chris Richard was going to take Jason Garrett's job.
Or at minimum become the defensive coordinator after Rob Marinelli, left. But obviously that did not happen, as now he's going to be looking for work
again
elsewhere. Disturbing news coming from the Cincinnati Bengals and their running back. Running back Joe Mixon has an arrest warrant out for a menacing charge. A warrant has been issued for the arrest of Cincinnati Bengals running back Joe Mixon on a complaint of misdemeanor aggravated menacing, according to court records. The complaint was filed Thursday in Ohio's Hamilton County. The Bengals said they are aware of the charges against Mixon. Quote, the club is investigating the situation and will not comment further at this time, a team spokesperson said in a statement Thursday. According to the warrant,
this is wild.
Mixon allegedly pointed a gun at an individual on January 21st and said the person should be, quote, popped in the face. The warrant states the incident occurred on the intersection of Walnut Street and East 3rd Street in downtown Cincinnati, one day before the Bengals defeated the Bills in the divisional round of the playoffs.
I have an update to this story.
Oh.
Tom Pelissero tweeting out an hour ago that he just spoke to Bengals running back Joe Mixon's agent, Peter Schaefer, who said the misdemeanor charge against Mixon will be dropped Friday. Quote, it was a rush to judgment. They're dropping the charges first thing in the morning. I really feel that police have an obligation before they file charges because of the damage that can be done to the person's reputation to do their work. They should be held to a higher standard because I don't play with people's lives. All right.
Okay.
Guess we'll find out tomorrow.
I guess we will see on that more.
Is Ohio
tomorrow.
the Florida of the Midwest?
That's a loaded question.
Oh. I would think maybe more West Virginia, but I don't think that that's too terribly off.
Okay. I wouldn't know anything about that.
Consider myself an expert.
I'm about to say you would know a little bit more about that than we would here. Congratulations to D'Amico Ryans. He said he expects to win in his quote-unquote dream job as he was introduced as the head coach of the Houston Texans today. He said, quote,
You believe that?
I do actually believe that for him. Spent his first 6 seasons in Houston, clearly a favorite son of the organization, and a situation I think is much better now than what it was, not just this past year, but also the year before that. You know, and talking with my man Landry Locker down there, who covers, you know, the Houston Texans, you know, the sports radio, Odyssey, sister station down there, Sports Radio 610 in Houston. This was the guy for them. This is the guy. There were reports that Jonathan Gannon, who was the defensive coordinator for Philadelphia, was also a strong candidate in the building, but this was the guy that they wanted. And I believe him even more because my man turned down the Denver job, allegedly, to take this one. Because if the report is true from Rappaport that the Denver Broncos were trying to hire him as early as that morning, and he told them no to take the Houston job, then I
guess it's just hard for me to think that anybody's dream job would be with the Houston Texans, but
very unique circumstances with D'Amico Ryans there. And honestly, I think it's going to work out for him. I think he has the right makeup and attitude to be able to last there. And more importantly, they gave him a 6-year deal, which tells me they're going to give him the latitude. It reminds me of what San Francisco did when they hired Kyle Shanahan. They gave him a 6-year deal, him and John Lynch together, to be able to work through whatever they wanted to in order to get San Francisco.
I'm going to hold out my belief in him until I see what he does in Houston. I mean, I like him. I don't have any issue, but there's something that always gives me pause to coaches that just run what they run without trying to mask a whole lot of things or try to surprise the others. It takes me back to Jason Garrett, right? Like, we're going to do what we do. We're just going to win with our athletes. And he did that because he had superior athletes with that San Francisco defense. You know, can you coach him up?
3 NFL trends from this season that will continue in 2023, and this one the Cowboys should adopt. We'll talk about it next on 105.3 The Fan.
35 minutes of commercial-free Fan. Holy mackerel. It's the Expressway with Sean and RJ mornings at 7:20, KNC middays at 12:20, and afternoons with G-Bag at 5:20 right here on 105.3 The Fan and the Odyssey app.
Your turn it on, leave it on. Home of America's team is 105.3 The Fan. Go low, baby. KRLD FM and HD1, Dallas Fort Worth.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
From our fan studios secured by DFWsecurity.com, it's time for the Get Right on 105.3 The Fan.
Hour number 2 to Get Right. We're Reggie KG on 105.3 The Fan. Kevin Gray with Will Chambers. My man Larry Flores holding it down for you here on this Thursday night edition on your home of the Cowboys and Texas Rangers. Appreciate you joining us on Odyssey and the Odyssey app. 3 NFL trends from this season that will continue into 2023 and one the Cowboys should adopt. We'll have that conversation here on your home of the Cowboys. 105.3 The Fan. Again, the truckred.com text line 877-881-1053. 877-881-1053 if you want to get in on the conversation. Mavericks dominating the New Orleans Pelicans right now at the America Airlines Center. Luka Doncic, 31 points on the night so far as the Dallas Mavericks are up 81-55 in the third quarter as the Dallas Mavericks are handling business against the Pelicans.
Absolute beating.
And Luka
81 points already with 7:12 to go in the third quarter.
Yeah, and Luka Doncic taking a very nasty fall just now, taking it to the basket.
I did that the other night. Other cheek, but
well, he grabbed his right ankle is the one he grabbed as on the way down as he kind of twisted it as he was falling to the ground. He went up for,
he'll be all right.
Attacking the basket.
Rub some tussin on it.
And then hit Jonas Valanciunas and landed awkwardly on his right ankle as he's holding, doubled over a little bit in pain. So we'll see how that goes as the Mavericks, again, dominating the Pelicans 81-55. 3 NFL trends, though, that will continue into 2023, and one that the Cowboys should adopt. This comes from our good friends over at CBS Sports. As we are in the in-between weeks of the Super Bowl, the Pro Bowl games taking place in Las Vegas. Did you have any interest in the Pro Bowl games coming into today?
I like this better than the actual game. Because I have less than zero interest, if that's even possible, in a Pro Bowl game. But it was, as we were doing crosstalk with G-Bag earlier, some of the things that they were doing, the long drive, the catching of the football, you're already holding on to one football, and then out of the, what is that called? The slinger?
The what?
The ball machine.
The jugs machine?
Yeah. Firing it out there like it's a punt, and you got to catch when you already have one football in your arms.
The slinger machine? Is that what he called it?
Yeah, that's what he said.
It's been a long 3 days for all of us.
It has.
It has been a long 3 days.
Words are tough.
Words are hard.
Larry's already saved me once with algorithm.
As we talk about some trends that continue into 2023, quick interesting note here from Jory Epstein, who covers the NFL for Yahoo Sports. Cowboys have yet to name their next offensive coordinator. Is there any chance the right hire would call plays instead of Mike McCarthy? To which Jerry Jones responded, no. Oh, no. I think Mike's the coordinator. Whoever he brings in is the assistant to him in the coordination, but Mike is coordinator. Jerry goes on to say, Mike, of course, knows the personnel, knows Dak. So picture if I had just interviewed him and he was coming in, how far ahead he is making this thing really work. I think we're avoiding some of the frailties of somebody new coming in, yet at the same time getting prepared to expand. Which is yet just another indication to me that the quote-unquote offensive coordinator, in title only it appears, is already in the building.
I would say that I agree. I don't have a problem with it at this point. When you go back to Mike McCarthy's time at Green Bay when he was the play caller, they were consistently great. It started to fall apart once he relinquished the play calling duties. And I think Bobby Belt had tweeted this out recently, a few days ago, maybe almost a week. But, I think the last 2 years in which he did it, and then the rankings, fell off significantly. And I think that there is already damage to that relationship. Bottom line is he was good when he was doing it. Maybe it'll work. I mean, my whole thought process was before they had gotten rid of Kellen was that, and a lot of people have voiced it similarly on the station, saying that it's not necessarily that Kellen did a bad job. Sometimes you just need to make a change for change's sake.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, look at Josh Allen and Brian Daboll. You know, Brian Daboll was able to really take Josh Allen and help make him into one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And he left, and some of the things that he had vastly improved on started to kind of creep back in this year, right? A little bit looser with the football, a little bit more reliant on running it, you know, kind of free-spiriting the football all over the place. So I think that maybe the prescription that is needed to get the most out of Dak Prescott is to get an OC to get the best out of him.
And the only prescription.
It's more cowbell.
More cowbell. Love Mr. Christopher Walken.
There's a goat.
Christopher Walken for sure. Let's look at trend number 1. Invest heavily in the offensive line. This comes from Chris Trapasso of CBS Sports. Invest heavily in the offensive line. The 49ers made the Super Bowl after the 2019 season, ultimately losing to Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Less than 2 months later, they traded a 5th and a future 3rd for future first ballot Hall of Famer left tackle Trent Williams. You saw what the Chiefs did after they lost in the Super Bowl to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Revamped the whole thing.
And the whole offensive line. Bengals this year, what'd they do? Invest heavily in the offensive line. Now, a bunch of them dudes got hurt.
Yeah, and it was bad early, but they really started to play very well towards the end of the year.
And, of course, you look at teams that have done so and find themselves in the Super Bowl, like the Chiefs, probably the best blocking unit in the AFC. The Philadelphia Eagles, Jordan Mailata. You've got Lane Johnson there, has been there for a long time. But also Landon Dickerson, Cam Jurgens.
2 top offensive lines in the game.
Yeah. Dallas Cowboys seem to be doing some of that, you know, drafting Tyler Smith. They've got guys that they're
developing Terrence Steele. Getting a really good year out of Tyler Biadasz.
This next one's not necessarily going to apply to the Cowboys because they're not in a position to do this and won't be in a position to do it really anytime soon. Which is, quote, when in doubt, take flyers on quarterbacks.
Oh, I think they're going to now. They've already said as much.
Do you believe it when they say that?
Oh, I think that they're going to draft.
We'll see about that. I don't know if I necessarily believe them, to be honest with you. Because there's more.
Look, the way that Jerry reacts right after a season is over is. I was listening to G-Bag yesterday. Brian Broaddus was saying this when it comes to like when Jerry talks. Like Jerry doesn't lie. You know, he's going to tell you, or he may, you know, give you an inclination based on what he says. Now, Steven may say something. You know, these were his words, and he may lie to you and smile, right? And I agree because, you know, we talked a lot in the last offseason about why he was pissed and what he was doing to make some changes and why we don't see Lyle Collins here, why, you know, some of the other players, Amari Cooper, that are no longer here. And right after the game, I listened to that audio when Bobby sent it over, like probably not 5 minutes after the words had left Jerry's mouth when he finished. And to me, it sounded like the biggest disappointment to him was the disappointment in how Dak played. And he's going to give all the support because I think he still believes in him. I believe when he says that he believes it. But I think that there's some chinks in that armor, so to speak, right? Where he's like, yeah, I mean, I still believe in him. But, you know, we'll take a look. But you're right, we'll see.
The final one, though, I think is one that the Cowboys could actually adopt and should adopt. It's something we talked about a little bit earlier, but a little more fully fleshed out here. Be aggressive. Be aggressive. From the most ubiquitous cheer on the sidelines of high school games in America to the application in the NFL, this is somewhat of a combination of the above 2 points. But be aggressive. And I'm not suggesting more blitzes. I'm talking aggression with building the roster. This really could be an extension of what the Rams did before their Super Bowl winning season. a year ago. And obviously the biggest example in this case would be the Philadelphia Eagles, who before the Christian McCaffrey trade was made, the move of the offseason and of the entire season in my mind was A.J. Brown being acquired from Tennessee to Philadelphia. Now, once the San Francisco 49ers...
I actually totally agree with that. I think a lot of people would talk about Tyreek Hill.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say I'd actually look at A.J. Brown more so. I'm with you there.
And, of course, they got A.J. Brown on a draft day deal. They went and got James Bradberry, who was kicked to the curb by the Giants. C.J. Gardner-Johnson.
Yeah.
Who also is there.
Darius Slay,
who they picked up a couple of years ago. This is a team that has been extremely aggressive, and that's not even mentioning the signings that they made.
Okay, no, but here, let me check that real quick.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to tell me that the pickup of Bradberry and some of the other ones that you mentioned were quote-unquote aggressive? Because I don't look at that as, too different from what the Cowboys did in going to get like Jaron Kearse or Malik Hooker or some of the other guys that they've gotten, over the last few years. They turned out to be better players, but
yeah, and I think that's the big difference. I think what Philadelphia did is that we're going to go after some better players and still believe that we're plugging holes with those players. And with the C.J. Gardner-Johnson one, that one to me is the wildest one because somehow they're able to acquire a first-round pick in that particular trade as well. So they got not only one, but 2 first-rounders going into, the 2023 NFL Draft. Oh, yeah, and by the way, thank you, 806, Hassan Reddick.
yeah, that's
Being signed, a guy who should get a lot more love for the Defensive Player of the Year and who wrecked the game against the San Francisco 49ers. Now, the Chiefs' aggressiveness can be looked at a little bit differently. We just mentioned Tyreek Hill, right? The Chiefs did a better job of adequately replacing Tyreek Hill than the Cowboys did in replacing Amari Cooper.
really
Yes.
by replacing him with whom?
Marquez Valdez-Scantling and then Juju Smith-Schuster. Whom paired with that quarterback, you did better than the Cowboys did in trying to replace Amari Cooper.
I'm going to argue that. I think that you could get a lot of guys and pair them with Patrick Mahomes, and they're going to look pretty damn good.
Well, my point is they did it. The Cowboys didn't do it. Because if they had done so, you would probably seen a little bit better play from the second wide receiver position. And what you got from Marquez Valdez-Scantling and Juju Smith-Schuster throughout the year.
It's funny, too?
Mm-hmm.
Another CBSSports.com piece from our guy Joel Corey.
Uh-huh.
One player each team should prioritize signing in free agency. And with the Cowboys, he's got Juju Smith-Schuster.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
See, Patrick Mahomes rebuilding guys' value in the league. That's a very interesting take. I have to look at that. But Brett Veach, who is the GM for the Kansas City Chiefs, was able to find guys that they knew couldn't necessarily be as dynamic as Tyreek Hill, obviously, but production-wise and the way that Patrick Mahomes could play football would fit well into this offense, and they played very well this year. And yeah, again, another guy that they got, Kadarius Toney for a bag of chips. That's how good Brett Veach was in terms of some of the moves that he made. But that aggressive mentality while utilizing the resources that they had, that's why these two teams are where they are right now.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't look at the Chiefs as being more aggressive than, say, the Cowboys. I really don't. I would have to say overall, considering what you had mentioned with A.J. Brown, that definitely Philadelphia was much more aggressive. That's for sure. But, and again, I think this goes to, it's really easy for us in our seats or for fans, wherever they may be, to look at this like, oh, you should go get this, you should go get that. When, one, it's a lot more difficult, and two, the example I made before on how you and I particularly were clamoring for Bobby Wagner and Von Miller in the offseason. They didn't get him, either of them, and I don't think that was a big problem. I don't think that if you got one or both of them, that turns them into a Super Bowl team. The Dallas Cowboys are where they are because their quarterback played like garbage in that game. Let's call it what it is. Yeah. I mean, what area can you really blame for the Cowboys that didn't do enough to win? I think all of them did outside of QB1.
I mean, in a lot of ways, not to obviously excuse the performance of Dak Prescott. I mean, he was literally throwing the two dudes for the rest of that game, for the entire game. CeeDee Lamb and Dalton Schultz, especially once Pollard went down.
Yeah.
The lack of weaponry that you had outside of CeeDee Lamb at times this year really reared its ugly head, and it did so in the worst way in the playoffs against San Francisco. But look, I think the best teams in this league look at what they have, can find ways to plug those holes with not just efficient signings, but good signings that accentuate what the skill set of these players have.
I don't know what kind of weapons would have helped out the passes that Dak Prescott was throwing in that game.
Oh, no, I tend to disagree a little bit on that one, because let's just, for the conversation's sake, real quick, you had Amari Cooper, who is a professional route runner that could get open. He's getting himself wide open. Dak Prescott could hit a very wide open Amari Cooper. And then think about the trickle down effect.
He missed Gallup. He missed CeeDee Lamb on some wide open plays.
Yeah, but I think part of that too is, I mean, Michael Gallup and the lack of separation that we saw from him throughout the course of the year.
But he was separated on a big play down the field that Dak missed him on.
Yeah, those throws are going to happen from time to time. But I think for the totality of the year, I mean, at one point,
but we're talking about what needs to change because the Cowboys did not get to an NFC Championship game. We can't look at it from the totality of the year. From the totality of the year, this is one of the best offenses that the league had. In that game, it was not. And it wasn't because of Michael Gallup or CeeDee Lamb as much as it was because of Dak Prescott. I mean, if we're being real honest about what happened and the reason why the Cowboys are at home.
Yeah. I'm not absolving the quarterback of the way that he played, because some of the decisions that he made and the way that he played definitely put them in that position. My thought is, throughout the entirety of the year and then in that game, if you had another weapon or two, maybe some of those mistakes aren't necessarily made, and he has other choices to be able to make instead of the ones that he had at his disposal in that particular game. But again, another long off season for the Cowboys to make some different decisions going into 2023. Speaking of decisions, coming up next on the Get Right with Reggie KG on 105 through the Fan, the Mavericks are dominating the Pelicans right now. But what concerns you most about the Mavericks ahead?
Nothing right now. Look at this.
The NBA trade deadline a week from today. We'll talk about it next on 105 through the Fan.
You can wait 24 hours. Or you can find out Cowboys and NFL insider info immediately by listening to Super Bowl winning scout Brian Broaddus, part of the G-Bag Nation, afternoons 2 to 7, right here on the Fan and our Odyssey app.
There is a reason you need a special license to drive a big truck. So companies that hire drivers and put them in a big truck should be held accountable for what happens when one hurts you. Frankly, you need Frankel and Frankel. The consultation, it's always free. Visit truckreg.com.
Just to get right, we're Reggie KG on 105.3 The Fan. Kevin Gray, Will Chambers, Larry Flores holding it down for you here. Appreciate you joining us on Odyssey and the Odyssey app. What concerns you most about the Mavericks heading into the NBA trade deadline, which is a week away from today? Nothing should concern you tonight, though, because the Mavericks are absolutely dominating the New Orleans Pelicans right now. It is 95-76 Mavericks as they are crushing the New Orleans Pelicans at the beginning of the fourth quarter here. Luka Doncic on the night, 31 points, 12 of 19 from the field. Did have to leave the game with a little bit of an ankle issue after crashing into Jonas Valanciunas earlier on or in the third quarter. And in fact, just as of 3 minutes ago, Luka Doncic, right heel contusion, will not return to tonight's game against the New Orleans Pelicans. So Luka's night is officially done. He will finish the night with 31 points on 12 of 19 from the field for the Dallas Mavericks. He had those 31 points in just 22 minutes of play.
It looked like it didn't feel good. It didn't look to me like it's anything serious. It just looked like, ouch.
It's just crazy how this every time Luka gets hurt, it's like a collective hold your breath because of what it could be for Luka. This time it's a right heel contusion. He just came back from an ankle sprain just a few days ago. So hopefully not too much to be concerned about when it comes to Luka Doncic. But again, a right heel contusion has him out for the rest of this game against the New Orleans Pelicans. Meanwhile, the NBA's trade deadline is just a week away from today, which we'll get to here in just a moment, but want to congratulate the rest of the all-star reserves that were named tonight in the Eastern and Western Conference. No Jalen Brunson named as an Eastern Conference all-star reserve, but Julius Randle of the Knicks was named an all-star reserve. The other names include Bam Adebayo, Jaylen Brown, DeMar DeRozan, Joel Embiid, Paul George, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Congratulations to him as an all-star this year. Tyrese Halliburton, Drew Holiday, Jaren Jackson Jr. of the Memphis Grizzlies, Damian Lillard, Lauri Markkanen, who's having a career year for the Utah Jazz, John Morant.
Just in time to leave Chicago.
Yeah, that's true. John Morant, Julius Randle, and Domantas Sabonis, an all-star this year.
Julius
as well.
Back into form.
Yeah, he's been playing much better as of late for Tom Thibodeau and the New York Knicks as they are sitting a couple of games above 500. But what will the Mavericks do at the NBA's trade deadline? February 9th, a week from today. Will Christian Wood be a Dallas Maverick? Will Dorian Finney-Smith be a Dallas Maverick? New reports today when it comes to Dorian Finney-Smith that there is interest from the Miami Heat.
Has there been a trade rumor with the Mavericks that has not involved DFS?
The Christian Wood stuff. I'm assuming you're saying other than Christian Wood.
No, I'm just like, it feels like every time I hear about, there's interest, like teams, anytime there's a rumor, I hear DFS seems to be always in it.
As of recently, he has been. Now, we did get word from Mark Stein last night that Christian Wood is going to be out at least another week with the thumb fracture that he has. By the way, we're also live on Twitch, twitch.tv/DallasFanCam, and also on YouTube as well, 105.3 The Fan on YouTube if you want to check us out there. That Christian Wood is going to be out at least another week with that thumb injury, but the Mavericks have opened up contract negotiations, although Mark Stein of Substack says that they are in the preliminary stages right now with respect to those negotiations, which is kind of interesting because, as I mentioned, once again, we are just 1 week away from the NBA trade deadline. So to only be in the quote-unquote early stages of contract negotiations, that's a little concerning, so much so that I posed a question today at Kevin Gray Sports on Twitter, which apparently got a lot of response, including my man Derek Holland, who weighed in as well. The question being, with 1 week to go before the NBA trade deadline, how nervous are you about the Mavericks making or not making a trade at the deadline?
And what was the majority of the response? I'm going to assume was terrifying, right?
Honestly, either not nervous or even worse, a lot of apathy, actually. From one person, not nervous at all. Cuban will do right. Also, MFFLs with a hat and Kermit the Frog bending over, sitting on a bench. Another one, I'm kind of over it.
Wow.
Fully expect Luka to move on eventually at this point. From another person on Twitter, not expecting a move until they can kick in picks in terms of the offseason. I don't see them making any big moves until then. Another one, no worries at all. 3 years from now, Cuban will be nervous where to trade Luka so they at least get something in return.
So whom is out there to get that would make, the big splash, the big difference? Fred VanVleet?
The hot name has been Bojan Bogdanovic from the Detroit Pistons. A guy that's having a career year. Could have been an all-star himself the way he's playing, but Detroit's just awful. But a guy that can shoot the ball and stretch the floor from deep. For me personally, I'm not necessarily making a move unless it's to move on from Christian Wood if you feel like you cannot have him back on a long-term deal or even a 2-year deal going forward for the next couple of years. Because I look around.
Okay, so that is honestly the most rational explanation that I can come up with. I mean, here's how I'm looking at the NBA this season. There isn't a great team. I mean, I think Boston Celtics they're really good. Milwaukee, the same, and won a championship, a couple of years ago. I mean, do you follow me on that? Do you agree, disagree?
I think it's
we're talking about great.
Yeah, it's top heavy in the East. I mean, you look at, as you mentioned, Boston, Milwaukee, in the West, you got pretty much, Denver is dominating right now in the West. They're pretty much the only team that you look at and you say seriously as a real championship contender, but the West is so jumbled this year.
Exactly. And so my point being that if you have Luka Doncic, which I believe, been saying this for a little while now, that he is the best player in the world, you would think that anything that you added to him, anything substantive, even though that, is what they did in the offseason with Christian Wood, and has that gotten them anywhere? No, but if you move off from Christian Wood, then whom are you getting to come in here? And is it how much of a net gain is it? But you would think that there isn't anybody running away with the Western Conference, or at least a chance. They're only one game back right now of being, in that fourth spot. Mm-hmm. It's up for the taking. You'd like to think with a player like Luka that you're only going to need a guy or two to come in to make a significant impact this season, right? So to that point, I would say, yeah. I'd like to see them really make a move. But then on the other side, I go, okay, but like you just said, are you going to be able to keep Christian Wood long term? And if not, then you got to get rid of him and get something in return. And if you're going to bring somebody in that's substantive, who is that going to be?
Yeah, because I tend to think whomever you bring in won't necessarily make a big difference this year. And until the Mavericks convey the pick this summer to New York, any move that you make will be an improvement on the margins for this team. And for me, for the 972 says, well, what about Zach LaVine? You don't have the assets right now to make a move for Zach LaVine.
Especially if Los Angeles goes in real hard.
Yeah, they have many more desirable assets, including, future first-round picks that you just simply don't have right now until this offseason. And more importantly, you bring in Zach LaVine, you're bringing in his max contract along with him. So right now, that doesn't necessarily seem like the move. So for me, unless it's a move to move on from Christian Wood, I don't see the Mavericks doing much of anything, because I would be surprised that Dorian Finney-Smith would be moved for anything less than a package that would include some type of star coming back, because Dorian Finney-Smith's not going to get traded.
What about picks? In general.
Again, that would be my reason to move on from Christian Wood. If you don't believe he's part of your long-term plans, then you need to acquire assets. Christian Wood, while yes, the trade value for him may not necessarily be extremely high or what you wanted it to be going into the deadline, if you can get something for him, then you need to make that move if you don't believe he's part of your long-term future.
I mean, when you're trading player for players, it's really difficult to get a net gain a lot, right? And that's why we see so many of the trades that go down are typically ones that if there is a disparity as far as value, it's done as a salary dump, right? So that would be the only thing to where if you ask me what I'm worried about, I'm like, well, I don't know if I'm necessarily worried. To me, if they're going to get a lot better, it would have to be a blockbuster type of move. And if not, it would have to be something that gets them, as you pointed out, assets. I'm not going to freak out about, what's happening with this team outside of just one thing. And that is appeasing Luka.
Yeah, and that's the biggest.
Emotional.
The biggest thing is you have to be able to find yourself in this whole window that we've been talking about here for Luka Doncic over the next couple of years. What can you do to be in a position that allows you to acquire the kind of talent that would give Luka the idea that this team can compete long-term for championships? And right now, you just simply don't have those assets to be able to do it. Now, going into the summer of 2023, you feel much better about that. But again, what kind of plan are you putting forward, especially if that doesn't involve Christian Wood being a part of this team, which in my mind, if I had to say right now, which I'm going to, I don't think he'll be a Maverick by the time we get to the end of the trade deadline.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
Next week. Yeah. I think he gets
throwing
moved.
it down.
Yeah. There's just not – these things can come together fairly quickly, but I just don't see that kind of movement needed within the next 7 days in order to feel like you can get something done. Now, the Mavericks may play this out and just say, well, we'll just play it out for the rest of the regular season and take our chances going into free agency and see what we can do with him to improve based on when he comes back versus trying to trade for someone who may marginally improve us. We'll just keep Christian Wood and hang on from there. But the Mavericks right now are up by 14, 101-87 with 5:43 left in the fourth quarter. The big news tonight, Luka Doncic with a right heel contusion, leaving the game in the third quarter, not returning to tonight's game for the Dallas Mavericks as they take on the New Orleans Pelicans. It's the Get Right with Reggie KG right here on 105.3 The Fan. Coming up next, we're going to go inside the gray area where we'll talk about something. I'll figure it
cool.
out.
All right. I'm in.
That's a tease. Next on 105.3 The Fan.
Coming up in the next G-Bag Nation. Tune in all day long for Brian Broaddus's Feet of Strength Fan Jam Bet Payoff. He'll be on all the shows. Nation picks up at 2 o'clock. What you drinking, what you thinking at 5:30 here on The Fan.
all-time great runners Emmett Smith, Tony Dorsett, and Earl Campbell are just a few of the many celebs stopping by to hang with the Fan at Radio Row. Presented by Rally House. It's a week worth of guests, stories, and for some, hangovers. Listen to all the craziness all next week thanks to Rally House, Window Nation, and A#1 Air. It's Radio Row Week on the Fan.
Back here on the Get Right with Reggie KG on 105.3 The Fan. Kevin Gray, Will Chambers in for my man Reginald Atatula. Larry Flores on the down for you here on this Thursday night here. Appreciate you joining us, however, and wherever you may be listening to us on Odyssey and the Odyssey app. Also on Twitch, twitch.tv/DallasFanCam, and on YouTube. Just search 105 through the Fan on YouTube and check us out there live right now. The Mavericks are trying to make this game a lot more interesting than what it needs to be. As right now, the Mavericks are up 106-94, just an 8-point lead after they were up by as many as 31 in this game.
Have you seen this Donovan Mitchell, Dylan Brooks thing?
No, I haven't been able to catch any of it because I hear that Dylan Brooks is out here being a sucker.
Yeah, pretty much. So Brooks goes in for a bucket and, kind of puts his shoulder into Donovan Mitchell. Brooks misses the shot, and Mitchell gets the rebound as Brooks is going down. And while Brooks is down, he just I couldn't tell because Mobley was in the way if he took a shot to the groin or just tried to hold him while he was there with his back to him and on the court. And here it is. Yeah, no, that's exactly what he did, Kev. He took a shot at the nuts.
Oh, wow.
Dylan's a punk.
Like a swing?
Yeah, all right, so he's on the ground
I
and
see the
Dylan
still
is
photo
up
now.
behind him.
Uh-huh.
And he just kind of, with the back of his, goes up to try to hit him, clearly knowing where he was.
Oh.
He's a punk.
Okay.
So Mitchell throws the ball at him.
Yeah, I
goes
see that.
after him, grabs him around the neck, and and then takes him down, and an assistant coach from the Cavs comes up and tackles Dylan Brooks.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, that's a good one.
Okay.
All right.
Yep, Dylan Brooks, professional sucker. Yep, that's what it sounds like. As I mentioned, the Mavericks right now trying to cling to the lead against the Pelicans. The big story in this game, Luka had to leave the game with a right ankle contusion, but the Mavericks were up by as many as 31 points in this game. Right now, they are hanging on to a 10-point lead with about 3:30 left in the fourth quarter. Luka, before leaving the game, had 31 points. Spencer Dinwiddie's got 19. Tim Hardaway Jr. has been horrendous tonight. 3 of 16 from the field with 9 points. But Josh Green has been fantastic. He's got 13 points for the Mavericks. Larry, let's go inside the gray area right here on the Get Right. Reggie KG on 105.3 The Fan. As we do, we're going to start off with this piece of audio here. I think it's good to go.
Maybe.
Have you listened to Calm Down with Aaron and Carissa? It's a podcast with Aaron Andrews and Carissa Thompson.
Oh, no.
They are hilarious together.
I believe that. They're good friends.
Yeah, it's actually a pretty funny podcast. They have some really interesting and funny discussions, including this one about use of the powder room and should it be used by everyone to do this.
The worst places to do the deed if you had to do it around others. I am going to say without a doubt, and I would think goes without saying, you're not going in a powder room. But there's people that are like, you got to go, you got to go. Not in a powder room.
Not at the place, at the conversion center of all the bathrooms. It's the bathroom that everyone's going to use.
Command center.
Exactly. You should sneak off into one of those guest bedroom bathrooms
and
let it be, and be accused of sneaking around someone's house to do the deed, as opposed to just making an announcement that I just took a dump in the foyer of your house.
Yeah.
That powder room is front and center. There's no getting around that. It is the epicenter of the house, the kitchen and the powder room. It is the two places the living room as well. So fine, you want to on the coffee table? That's what you're telling me you're doing in the powder room.
Okay, I'll tell you this: that I'm totally going to listen to this podcast from here on out. I'll tell you that. 1, 2. Yeah, tell the truth. I mean, it's almost like, I mean, how tactless do you have to be to drop a deuce in, like, at a party or at somebody's house in the place where everybody is using that restroom?
But like,
and how do you do it without embarrassment too, by the way?
But like, for the most part, I mean, if you got to go, I mean, other than just driving down to the corner store or somewhere else or whatever, I mean.
Well, no, you go up to another bathroom like they were saying.
Right, but most houses, you know what I mean? I don't know, maybe I'm speaking for only have, 2 bathrooms? Bathroom and a half? I mean, I don't know. Not every room has their own bathroom, right? I mean, they're obviously speaking for people that have 3, 4, 5 bathrooms. It's not Russell Wilson's house.
He's like,
right?
they're not speaking from a place that I know about right
Russell
now.
Wilson's house that has 7 bathrooms or whatever.
Okay, well, one, if you have a house, and look, nothing against, you have what you can get. I don't know how many parties you should be throwing if you've got 1 bathroom. I don't even know any houses that have 1 bathroom. So there has to be at least another one that you can use.
At least 1.5.
Okay.
2.5.
Okay, so let's go process of elimination, okay? The master bathroom is out. You're not going to use anyone's master bathroom. By the way, what the hell is happening at the AAC right now?
Let me tell you something.
The Pelicans are within 4 with 58 seconds left in the 4th quarter.
If the choice needs to be made, I'm walking my happy butt to the master. Make no mistake about it.
Okay, but I feel like that's worst case scenario. So again, let's process of elimination. Master bathroom normally is out, right?
Normally.
No,
unless you know the people.
Yeah, right? Exactly. And clearly what they're talking about too is that they were at a place where there were definitely options, but an option was not taken.
Okay, because my thought was, and that's a little bit opposite of what they're talking about. I always thought though that the powder room bathroom, the one that's kind of central to the house, is kind of like the understood bathroom that everyone uses. Like, you're not gonna go duck off to go upstairs or go somewhere else within the house just to go use a bathroom. Like, I thought universally understood that the bathroom central to the house is the one that everyone
I mean, if you're the one hosting the party, you're setting that one up. Like, you're making sure that there's plenty of all the stuff, because this one's going to be the one that's being used.
Yeah, everyone's going to use this bathroom here. I thought that was more of an understood thing. Maybe I was wrong in that case.
I tell you what, I mean, and look, it can come and creep up out of nowhere, obviously, but, if you're in that situation, I'm out of that party anyway as fast as possible, especially after I did whatever I did when I had to do it.
Okay, so you're okay with going somewhere else within the house?
Absolutely.
To go, but the powder room, the foyer bathroom.
It's an absolute no.
That's a no.
No.
Okay. Interesting. I'll need to know from TrentRadio.com. Text line 877-881-1053. What's the central bathroom that everyone uses in your house? If you're throwing a party, a get-together, a shindig, whatever you're throwing, what's the bathroom that's central to your house? Because
the one that's the powder room, as it's called, in the foyer.
But you just said, though, that's not the one.
Yeah, you don't go in there.
That you don't go in there.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that's the one that you should be able to make as the central bathroom.
Oh, I'm sorry. I heard you wrong on that. Yeah. No, that's the one that everybody, uses when you're having a party. Usually people are having, some drinks, and so they're having to urinate a little bit more frequently in there. So there's people in and out of there. A lot of times, depending on how big the party is, there could be a bit of a line there, which is another thing that surprises me, that somebody, would not be embarrassed enough to find another bathroom, knowing that somebody else is likely going to walk in there right after you. Just, went nuclear.
Okay, so let's go on a deeper level then. As you set up that particular bathroom, whatever the case that bathroom might be, what is your bathroom setup? Do you have, obviously you have the tissue paper.
Anything that really a female is going to need.
Oh, so you got the
whole, I mean,
wow.
No, I didn't. Well,
you got a whole like CVS in that bathroom?
No, I just meant it to where, look, guys don't care. Guys are gonna, they could take a leak outside in the yard. It doesn't really matter. That's another thing that is a pet peeve of mine. When you go to somebody's house and they have a party, and like the bathroom is like not clean,
Oh yeah,
Like,
that's rule number one. Like if you're gonna have people over, like at least
the girls are the ones that are sitting down, touching more. So yeah, more accommodating in that sense.
Yeah, it almost sounds like Larry Will has his whole house set up for the ladies to make sure that they feel nice and comfortable.
You know I do. But to be perfectly honest, it
got
is
silk
because
sheets
that's
in
how
your house?
I got.
You got
I
silk
have the
sheets in the house.
Silk, no.
You got the silk sheets in the house?
No, I'm very particular on my bedding sheets because I'm a hot sleeper. So I've got to have those cold, almost like hotel type cotton sheets.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because the ones that are like Egyptian cotton, which feel great and they're super soft.
Yeah.
They could be really warm.
Oh, okay.
At night.
Okay. Larry, are you a person that brings their own sheets to the hotel room? Do you trust the hotel room sheets in the bed? Are you that person?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't bring my. What I will do is I'll use a shirt or something that I bring for my pillow. For like the sheets themselves.
Oh,
like I won't, but
really?
like usually like a shirt.
You trust the sheets, but you don't trust the pillowcase on the pillow on the sheets.
But I'm also not the type of person that really sleeps with a blanket, anyways. Like I'll just use the very thin part. I forget what it's called of the comforter set. Right?
Oh, you use like the thin sheet?
The little thin sheet. That's it. And maybe it's just around my legs, and that's just about it. Because I'm like, well, I'm a very hot sleeper as well. Like it's got to be cold. Like I prefer to be cold whenever I sleep. So
this week's been heaven for you, huh?
Oh yeah. Fan's still on throughout this whole week. Still got the fan on.
You've had the fan on in the house?
My fan in the bedroom.
You're a crazy person. I got real questions.
Larry, I bet, does that fan ever go off?
No.
Yeah, not even close.
What?
Yeah.
No, like I
want
that
it's
fan.
Been 30 some odd degrees
since I moved into my place. That bedroom fan has never been off.
This is gonna sound ridiculous,
Oh my
and maybe I'm
gosh.
exaggerating a little bit, but I want to see my breath. Like that's how cold I usually like it.
I'm not.
Oh, so this has definitely been your week then. hasn't
Oh
it?
yeah, love it.
Oh,
especially when I sleep. Especially when I sleep. Now when I wake up, I'll turn the heater on.
Larry
like,
going
I wanna
full
be
Teddy
warm to wake
Bruschi
up.
on us, breath
But if
all
it's-
in the air.
But if it's cold, like that's how I fall asleep.
That's wild, man. Not the fan on in 30-degree weather.
Absolutely, it's on.
For the 972, what kind of sheets should I get if I get hot easily?
They're all like labeled pretty much that way now, like cooling sheets.
Yeah, cooling
like that
sheets.
certain cotton.
They also make mattress topper. I got a mattress topper that's like on top of my mattress that's like got the gel in it that's supposed to be for cooling as well.
Oh, okay.
If you don't do the whole bed itself, it's got the cooling feature. Just get the mattress topper that has it.
I did used to have a pillow that was like the cooling gel, pillow, make your head feel.
Oh, there is nothing better. Like that's why Stuart Scott always said, "Rest in peace." Cool as the other side of the pillow.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. That's right. That's inside the gray area here, courtesy of.
I think that anybody would enjoy spending time at my abode, male or female.
I mean, clearly you got the feminine hygiene products and stuff for the guys.
No, I didn't
too,
mean
like,
feminine hygiene.
No, I'm just saying,
I just meant any.
You got the whole setup. It sounds like you got the whole shebang ready for anybody.
That's right.
To do what you gotta do. Yeah, the calm down.
Comfort.
Comfort.
Built for comfort.
With Will Chambers. Yeah, that's the Calm Down with Aaron and Carissa podcast. Sound like you'll be.
I'm in.
Taking in.
I check one out on the way home.
Coming up next, we'll get you caught up on what happened between the Mavericks and the Pelicans, and your man Shams Charania today.
Got some game?
Yeah.
You're about to hear how little game I actually have.
Next on the Fan.
Download the Odyssey app and keep us with you.
Everything you need.
Listen to your favorite shows, get podcasts, and much more.
Yes!
From DFW Sports Station, 105.3 The Fan.
Your turn it on, leave it on. Home of America's team is 105.3 The Fan. Hello, baby. KRLD FM and HD1, Dallas Fort Worth.
Always live on the free Odyssey app. From our fan studios secured by DFWsecurity.com, it's time for the Get Right on 105.3 The Fan.
Final hour to Get Right. We're Reggie KG on 105.3 The Fan. Kevin Gray, Will Chambers. My man Larry Flores holding it down for you here on your Turn It On, Leave It On station. It is a final, mercifully, at the American Airlines Center.
Yeah, you good now, KG?
Bruh, the Mavericks were up by as many as 31 points in this game.
27 when Luka left.
Yeah, when Luka left the game with the right ankle contusion. And it was a 3-point game with about 9 seconds left. And the Mavericks are able to hold on for the 111-106 win over the New Orleans Pelicans. Luka Doncic had to leave the game with the right ankle contusion. He did have 31 points in 22 minutes. Meanwhile, Spencer Dinwiddie had 21 points on 4 of 19 from the field. He went 11 of 12 from the free throw line. Josh Green was the story, though, for the Mavericks coming off the bench. He had 15 points on 7 of 10 from the field, had 4 rebounds and a couple steals, had 9 points in the second half. But the Mavericks hang on after giving up 30 points in the fourth quarter to the Pelicans and only scoring 16. Mavericks 111. Pelicans 106. We now await the news on Luka Doncic and his right ankle contusion, which he left during the third quarter with. So just a a horrendous finish, though, at the end of this game, especially in the fourth quarter. But the Mavericks hang on for the W from the 2-1-4. The Mavericks were up 97-76 after 3 and damn near lost. Luka was out, of course, with the ankle contusion for the fourth. This man needs serious help. Oh, boy. But a win is a win is a win in this league, and the Mavericks were able to hang on to win. Let's kick out some of your headlines here on this Thursday night here on your home of the Cowboys, 105.3 The Fan. LeBron James closing in on Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's all-time scoring record. He is now 63 points shy of becoming the NBA's career scoring champion. He had 26 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists in the win for the Lakers as they rallied to beat the Indiana Pacers 112-111 on Thursday night. James gave Los Angeles his first lead with a 3-pointer with 2:35 left in the game. Anthony Davis's 11-footer with 35 seconds left was the decisive basket. Anthony Davis had 31 and 14 of his own in this game as the Lakers get the win. LeBron James now just 63 points shy of breaking Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's all-time scoring record. Did you know, gentlemen, that the game for the Thunder versus the Lakers in Los Angeles, guess how much the tickets are going for in that particular game?
For the Thunder?
The Thunder-Laker game.
$40.
The most expensive ticket, you would not be close.
I mean, that's what I would pay to go watch the Thunder and the Lakers.
Now, the reason why we're singling out this game, now the Lakers play on Saturday on the road against the Pelicans, and they come home for 2 games on Tuesday, February 7th, and Thursday, February the 9th. The way that LeBron has been out here scoring, it appears that the record-breaking night could happen on Tuesday, February 7th.
Oh, okay. So it's not because of my guy?
No.
SGA?
No, I'm sorry.
All right.
No.
Just checking.
Right now, tickets, the most expensive ticket inside Crypto.com arena for that game on Tuesday night, this coming Tuesday, a whopping, Larry, $92,000 if you want to watch LeBron James potentially break Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's all-time scoring record.
Yeah, no, I'd pass.
It's going to be quite a moment.
You got 92K just laying around and go watch LeBron?
Not this week. Pay off a few things, so. Little light, KG.
A little light on the wallet
there. Little light.
See, now I had predicted that he was going to do it on February the 9th, but he's been on a tear as of late. Now, the reason why I picked the 9th is because the Lakers are at home against the Milwaukee Bucks, and of course, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar played for the Lakers and the Milwaukee Bucks during his career, so I thought sports would do its sports thing.
Oh, that would come full circle, wouldn't
and,
it?
you know, have the whole full circle moment, but LeBron has been on a tear as of late, so it may happen a little bit sooner. But yeah, 92K will get you in the building for LeBron's potential record-breaking night against the Thunder. Joel Embiid, John Morant, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander headline the All-Star reserves for the 2023 NBA All-Star Game, as the All-Star reserves were named tonight. So congratulations to Joel Embiid, John Morant, among others, Jaylen Brown, Bam Adebayo, Drew Holiday, DeMar DeRozan, New York Knicks forward Julius Randle. Julius Randle making the All-Star game for a second time. Tyrese Halliburton makes the game for the first time for the Indiana Pacers. Also, Domantas Sabonis, Damian Lillard, Paul George, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Lauri Markkanen, and Jaren Jackson, all in the NBA's All-Star game this year.
What I hear, at least 4 Kentucky players in there. Not too bad.
Yeah, Randall,
SGA,
Shai,
Bam, Julius. No, we already did Randall.
So those 3, yeah. So there you go. Really happy for Lauri Markkanen. He's had a terrific year for them.
Yeah, I mean, because I think a lot of the things that had happened to him were because of injuries, right?
So, injuries, inconsistent play, but he's really put it all together for them this year for the Utah Jazz. Donovan Mitchell and Dillon Brooks were thrown out of tonight's game between the Grizzlies and the Cleveland Cavaliers. That's because apparently Dillon Brooks is a sucker and decided to take a groin shot at Donovan
He's going to get
Mitchell.
Suspended.
Yeah, I would imagine.
And
so.
should.
Mitchell was tossed after throwing the ball back at Brooks after the players tangled under the basket, where Brooks was called for a flagrant 2 foul and was also ejected with 5:48 left in the third quarter between the Memphis Grizzlies and the Cleveland Cavaliers. So, yeah. I mean, the video is kind of hilarious because Donovan Mitchell goes full takedown on Dillon Brooks in the brouhaha between the Cavs.
You know, I almost did that. I had a situation on Sunday night.
Wait, what?
Yeah. So I'm playing in a 40 and up basketball league. And I mean, it was late too. It was after the Bengals Chiefs game. And I had a guy, this like short guy on the other team that pushed me 3 times with 2 hands.
Oh, 2-hand shove.
2 hands.
Oh, okay.
You know, I mean, it wasn't, I mean, they were pushes, you know, I mean, it wasn't like a heavy shove, but when you put 2 hands on a guy and push him and play, that's Bush League, right? The first time he did it, you know, it kind of ticked me off. I didn't say anything. The second time he did it, I was shooting a 3. I was in the air and he 2-hand pushed me and, you know, I mean, I went down to the floor.
While you were in the air?
Yeah. So, and I got up and I was like, man, that's some, you know, bleepity bleep. You know, that's Bush. Don't do that. I go, you know, that's, you know, had some words, whatever. Walked to the free throw line, shot 3 technicals. The last one came, we're up by 9 with like 9 seconds left to go. I know, right? Well, because of what it was.
Okay.
Seriously, you know, I mean, you're never going to see technicals get called, but I was literally in the air and he came up and shoved me with 2 hands.
Yeah.
So we're up by 9. All I'm going to do is dribble out the game. And I kind of dribbled over to the side of like where our sideline was, and he comes over and tries to like press me against the sidelines, comes up and fronts me hard, and then 2-hand pushes me again out of bounds. As to which I fired the ball at him, and I got in his face. And
you fired the ball back at him?
I fired the ball back at him, and
go.
I said, "You push me one more time like that." I mean, I can't really say it because of all the curse words that were in it, but they actually finished the game. The ref, the table ref was like, all right, because there's at this point like 4 seconds left, and they called it. And he actually came over later, or like a few seconds after that, he was throwing something away, like that this garbage can that's like right by our bench. And he's like, my man was not having any more of that. Look, mother bleep. Like of what I had said.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. We were all kind of laughing about it afterwards, but still, enough is enough. It's a rec league game, and you're being shoved. Well, like I said, they're more like 2-amp pushes, but still.
In the this is hilarious department, this coming from the Pro Football Network at PFN365 on Twitter. Apparently, the reason why the Cardinals head coaching search is taking so long,
nobody wants to coach Kyler, probably,
is related to quarterback Kyler Murray's contract. Quote, many of the desired candidates don't want to take the job knowing they'll be tied to the hip of Murray for the next 4 years, end quote.
That actually doesn't surprise me one little bit.
Yikes.
Let's get into the Shams thing.
Oh, yeah, we're about to right now. Let's some headlines right here on the Get Right here on 105.3 The Fan. Again, Mavericks get the win tonight over the New Orleans Pelicans, 111-106. But that wasn't the fun of the day. Now, if you've been following this story a little bit, you know that Kay Adams, it appears, has a thing for NBA super insider Shams Charania.
It appears that way.
Yeah, I would say so. And it's been turned into a hilarious bit on Twitter.
Because she has her own show.
Yeah, she's got her own show, Up and Adams.
And she has them on, quite a bit.
We
all love Kay.
Yeah, Kay's great. She's great. But today, Larry, Shams wanted to show some love to Kay Adams in honor of National Women in Sports Day, which occurred yesterday. But tell me if you think my man is laying it on a little thick here. Take a listen.
We're both from Chicago. We're both Aries. You're a Missouri grad. That was in my top 3. I just didn't go to Missouri. Your parents were immigrants. My parents were immigrants. I just wanted to say, you get your flowers, just everything you built. I have a lot of respect. I know yesterday was Women in Sports Day, so congrats on everything you've done. And keep building.
Shams, what is this like a prank? I'm waiting for like the other shoe to drop. That is the sweetest thing that I've ever heard. Thank you so much. And right back at you.
I just want to make sure you got your love. That's all.
I didn't get enough love, but now I did. Now I feel very loved, and you are amazing.
Now, I encourage you to go watch the video itself because the audio, yes, you can kind of get the gist. The video,
she's smitten.
Oh boy, Kay Adams, and yeah, she loves herself some Shams Charania, and it's starting to feel like, Shams is kind of reciprocating.
Why wouldn't you?
The love a little bit, the Riz God out here, Shams Charania, a super NBA insider. I had to apologize to Shams because I was not familiar with his game.
See, but he's slick enough that, you could characterize that enough as, hey,
there's some plausible deniability there, right?
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. If he wanted to, but, it's just enough that it's still, you could hear her smiling.
Bro, through the video.
No doubt.
The video.
That's exactly the way that I would have tried to have handled it. I don't know if I would have handled it as smooth as Shams. But as far as intent, I would have been doing the same.
See, but you know what it was that sealed the deal for me, at least whenever he was sitting there talking about their things that they had in common.
Aries?
Yeah, when he dropped the whole
the whole sign?
Whatever they call it, yeah.
The astrology sign?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. My man was spitting game.
He knew what he was doing.
No, he knew exactly what he was doing.
Yeah.
And again, I don't begrudge him. Like, handle your business.
Yeah, I don't think that's laying it on too thick. I think that was appropriate thickness.
Mark that. So the question is, TrentRed.com text line 877-81-1053. Oh wow, from the what was this? From the 860. I just had to Google who she was because they didn't have any idea who that was.
I wouldn't even waste my time saying hello. She's so far out of my league.
Wow. Also from the 806, from another one. Shams is that shy kid that has a crush on the girl and then finds out she likes him, but he's still too shy to say anything until he goes overboard. Well, clearly she was loving what was coming her way in terms of the words from Shams, the Riz God today.
Yeah, it landed.
It landed real well for him. So the question is, TruckRed.com text line 877-81-1053. I'm going to make this a two-part question for you here, gentlemen. If you had one pickup line, what would it be? Or the other question is, who do you want to shoot your shot at if you had the opportunity? Like, who is the shot that you want to take? Because clearly Shams is taking his shot with Kay in this particular case here.
Well, I'd like to say first that Kay has, had that door ajar for him to walk through and shoot that shot.
Yeah.
So that,
because he was talking about they want to have, when we have kids together is when, how all
I think
this
that was a Freudian slip or something like that, wasn't it?
I don't
in
know.
there.
The way things are going, I don't know.
I've heard so many pickup lines that are pretty good, like funny.
Kay Adams, 214. Kay Adams.
But I don't ever use them.
You don't have a go-to pickup line?
No, anything that it's always within whatever situation of something that's happening or whatever in that time frame.
Oh, it's organic for you.
No, I mean, I don't come up and it just like appears to me. I'm like, okay, I'll think of, I'm going to say this.
Uh-huh.
But it always just starts with, can I, let's see, let me go in my mind the times that if I see somebody that's hot and they're sitting by themselves, I've gone over and I said, say hello. I was like, so you're over here alone. Do you mind if I join you?
Well, that's what you start off with?
I start out with that because, and just a warm smile, nothing that comes across that anything like that. Because if they're not wanting it, it's not going to get much better than that. But if they're open, then you typically have a good conversation. But I'll always add something else in there depending on like what's happening around us or something that I saw.
Okay.
So that's like the intro, and then it's usually some very, what I feel like is a quippy, witty something.
Okay. Anybody that you want to, you got a fantasy shot that you want to shoot that's out there?
I'll tell you what, Kay Adams would certainly do
that's
that.
He's like, you're already talking about it, Kay Adams.
I tell you what, and I've told this story before, there's sometimes that you see people on television and you can appreciate that they're very good looking, very attractive. And then you see them in person and you're like, oh my God, they're 10 times better looking in person. We were at the Super Bowl in Houston, and the hotel, I think it was a Marriott that all of us were staying in.
Yeah.
Like all the stations from here, from across the country, like ESPN, Fox was doing the Super Bowl that year. Everybody's staying at the Marriott because that's where the convention center is, walking distance over to Reliant. And they had a bar that was right basically in the middle of everything, right off the lobby. And I'm sitting there with former good friend, former colleague, Steve Dennis. Mm-hmm. Just having a cocktail, and Carissa Thompson walked in, and it was like, oh my God. It was like a light was coming off of her, around her.
Oh, man. Okay. All right. So Carissa Thompson.
You know what I mean? I'm just saying, we are able to time and time again run into people that we see on TV.
True.
And sometimes you go, geez, I didn't know that you could look that much better than you do on TV, but damn.
Larry, you got a fancy shot you trying to take these days?
Yeah, there's only really two, and they've been on my list for a long time.
Oh, okay.
Scarlett Johansson.
Oh, okay.
Right? And then Emma Watson.
Really?
Yeah.
Emma. Choosy pick. Kind of dig that.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, apparently Scarlett Johansson like the comedy types. She got, Colin Jost of SNL these days.
Ooh, this is a good one. See, this is what I'm talking about. This is not my game, but this is what I appreciate here. From the 832, one time at a Halloween party in college, a girl was dressed up as Wonder Woman. I went up to her and said, you could be my Wonder Woman if I could be your Superman. It went over well.
She ended up being a Dallas Stars Ice Girl. Wow.
See, my line would have been something, I would have had Wonder in there, like, I don't know.
Don't be bashful now.
No, I'm not. I'm trying to think of it, but now just thinking of seeing someone Wonder, like, there. I'll think of something and maybe I'll have it.
The brain does something different once it's got a couple of drinks in it, right?
Oh, yeah. You start to get real bold. Yeah.
Well, not more bold. I'm more creative.
Oh, okay. Well, one of the classic old school lines, when it comes to, trying to pick up somebody, I got a headache because you've been running through my mind all day, that kind of thing. A little old school line. I'm surprised Larry doesn't know that one. You know that one, Larry? No. You're not feeling that one? That one that picked you up? No? Okay. Help me out on the pickup lines then. You got a classic pickup line?
No, not at all. Actually, no. No game here.
He said no game.
Yeah,
game.
My game is conversational.
Anything I
can get to.
Oh, okay.
To the conversation. That's it. But hey, it works a lot with. Because it's the same thing with people that use pickup lines. I just don't. It's just not my style.
See, for me, it's like you got to play the long game. You know what I mean? Like you can't. Like I'm not gonna sit there and try to get an answer or have any type of ulterior motive for right? You got to think, okay, hey, long term, like I'm gonna sit here and just try to make an impression, and then it, maybe we talk over the next couple, days or whatever. But like as far as having the pressure of trying to make that impression right there, right then on that spot, yeah, I don't.
That's not your style.
That's not me. No.
Okay.
Yeah, like I wouldn't have walked up and said, I wonder what that costume is going to look like on my floor.
That's a good call, Will. That probably wouldn't have been a good one to say. From the 903, Zoe Deschanel. They would shoot their shot with Zoe Deschanel. By the way, she loves the Scott brothers, in particular, Jonathan Scott. From the 806, please say KG throwing his pickup line at Larry.
Will would have just showed him his hey, you want to check out my guest bathroom?
Right, exactly. That is something. You want to see them silk sheets I got in the in the bedroom?
The cooling sheets.
From the 806, Selma Hayek, they would shoot their shot with her. My good buddy Kelsey gonna love this one. From the 214, somebody wants to shoot their shot at Kelsey Charles all day, every day. Definitely have to let her know.
We could try to hook that up.
I'm gonna let her be on that one. Keep those. Wow, from the 817, best pickup line as we go to break. Did you just fart? Because you blew me away.
Yeah.
What the hell? Come on, we got to be better. Okay, let me know. Better pickup lines, 877-881-1053.
Mostly they're all already impressed with my, my diffusing, my oil diffusers and the scent of the apartment.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Coming up next
the bathroom, man, that is curtains.
Well, clearly they can't use their particular bathroom in your house, but that's okay.
All right, fair enough.
Coming up next here on the Get Right, or Educate You on 105 through the Fan. Would you sue this person for doing this and bury bond statistics that will blow your mind?
Blow your mind.
Next on 105 through the Fan.
Download the Odyssey app and keep us with you.
Everything you need.
Listen to your favorite shows, get podcasts, and much more.
Yes!
From DFW Sports Station, 105.3 The Fan.
This segment of The Fan is brought to you by Frankel and Frankel. There is a reason you need a special license to drive a big truck. So companies that hire drivers and put them in a big truck should be held accountable for what happens when one hurts you. Frankly, you need Frankel and Frankel. The consultation, it's always free. Visit truckreg.com.
Back here on the Get Right, we're Reggie KG on 105 through the Fan. Don't forget our Fan Bowl 2023 taking place on Saturday, February 4th at Revolver Brewing at Texas Live. Fan Bowl 2023, where Kevin Hagelin, of course, is our reigning champion. And looking forward to that. Come out starting at 2 o'clock.
Especially with Revolver. Blood and Honey was the first beer that I had when I came here. Or like first, I mean, I had Shinerbach, before or whatever. But like when I first moved here and started like drinking some Texas beers, the Blood and Honey was the first one. And damn, that's good. But boy, did I figure out real quick, you got to watch it with those. They've got another one, like a Blood and Honey citrus or something, and I want to try it because it's got like half the alcohol.
Okay.
Or something like that.
So you can stay coherent throughout the day?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's still at like 4.5%, but I love the flavor, but I was like, ooh, man, I had 3 of those.
Will's going to sharpen his pickup lines up out there.
Yeah.
Correct.
By the way, a great one came in. My mom always told me I was a 9 out of 10, but I think I just found the one I need.
Wow.
And 817, who all will be there? Everyone. All of us.
In fact, we will be on air from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. Chris Arnold and myself get you started from 12 to 2. Then I'll be with the guys roundtabling throughout the course of the show as well. So really looking forward to hanging out with all of you. It's our official send-off before the fellas head to Phoenix.
I also heard that the reigning fantasy football champion was going to be there as well.
That's right, Kevin Hagelin. He's going to be there.
No. He's the paper football reigning champion.
Oh.
The fantasy football champion is going to be there too.
Oh, yeah. So with the runner-up.
And the runner-up.
Mm-hmm. You're not following this, are you?
You're not.
No, I forgot who it was.
Does. That would be the two of us.
Oh, it was
who? The champion, and I would be the
you
runner-up.
won, Larry? I've forgotten that you had won.
Yeah.
Hell, I don't hardly see you these days, so it's just like, oh, yeah, you did win the whole thing.
It was a David and Goliath type thing because, I barely made the 1 seed in my division over there with Sean and Carter, and Will was just destroying everybody.
I was the number 1
all year
seed
long.
all year.
Oh, so you came up with the big win.
Pretty much, yeah. It was like the Giants and the
Patriots.
Yeah.
I was going to say it was kind of Cardinals, or I'm sorry, Cowboys, 49ers a little bit.
Yeah. So that was
team
nice.
Buckled.
Speaking of destroying things, that's what Barry Lamar Bonds used to do for his baseball career.
Oh my!
Isn't that right?
Do we want to do this now?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let me pull it up. So I came across this earlier on Twitter from Bleacher Report Walk-Off, and I retweeted it at _Will Chambers. And it's Barry Bonds stats that will blow your mind, a thread. If Barry Bonds played his home games at Coors Field in 2001, he would have hit 88 home runs.
What?
Yeah. From 2001 to 2004, Barry Bonds played in 573 games and reached base in 539 of them. That's 94% of his games. Okay.
That's crazy.
In 2004, Barry Bonds had 4 more home runs than strikeouts that season. Barry Bonds posted a 400 on-base percentage in 2 strike counts in 5 seasons. In 2 strike counts, we get it on base 4 out of 10 times in 5 different seasons.
With 2 strike counts.
Okay.
All right.
Barry Bonds, here's the reference. The league-wide average last season of OPS was 706. Okay? So last year in Major League Baseball, 706 was the league average for OPS. Barry Bonds in his career His OPS against Hall of Fame pitchers, 986.
So he was just beating the brakes off everybody.
Barry Bonds has 25 more intentional walks than the entire Tampa Bay Rays franchise. A whopping 49% of Barry Bonds' career hits or extra base hits. Almost 50% of his career hits. And finally, Barry Bonds is the only member of the 500-500 stolen base club. No other player has 350 in both categories. There were a few that I didn't read, time purposes, but
Barry
again,
Lamar Bonds, the greatest player
wow.
to ever play the game. He was a Hall of Famer before he ever set foot in San Francisco. Like, that's how great Barry Bonds was.
This is like hearing Chuck Norris facts. That text is a fact. Barry Bonds doesn't swing a bat to hit home runs. The ball just knows to leave the yard.
That's good, 817.
That is pretty good.
How about this headline, gentlemen? Y'all ready for this?
I am.
This coming from the Washington Post. She friend-zoned him. He's suing her for $2.3 million over it.
Oh.
A man in Singapore is seeking more than $2 million in legal damages, Larry, against a woman who he said caused him trauma after she rebuffed his romantic advances and told him she saw him only as a friend.
Yeah, that's your own fault, bro.
Yeah, take your L and move on.
Yeah. Yeah.
The man, identified as drone racing executive Kay Kaswanajan, in legal documents, alleged in a defamation lawsuit set to be heard in Singapore's high court next week that the woman's rejection caused him, quote, sustained trauma.
Oh.
And quote.
So this isn't even about the money that he spent taking her out or on her?
Oh, no. This is on,
God.
quote, sustained trauma and, quote, reductions in his earning capacity, end quote.
If this is not the epitome of narcissism, I do not know what is.
The suit, which the woman is contesting, seeks about $2.3 million in damages for the alleged harm of being friend-zoned.
Oh, my God.
In a separate case filed by Kaswanajan in Singapore's magistrate court, was struck down last month for abuse of process, and the woman's lawyer said Kaswanajan was ordered to pay her legal costs. In that suit, he had sought nearly $17,000, alleging that the woman had breached an, quote, offer she made that included, quote, offering room for Kaswanajan to share inspiration, struggle, and achievements, and, quote, meeting up based on mutual availability beyond coffee settings, end quote.
Okay, so how long was he courting her for? Does it say?
Let's see here.
What a loser.
I feel like after, I don't know, 2 months, maybe, that you should be able to, you need to be able to read the room, right? Like, you need to be able to tell, right? Is she posting you? Is she, you know, is the, are we in public? Like, what's it looking like? You know, you need to be able to read the room at that point.
Oh, here you go.
Are you doing anything together behind closed doors? I mean, let's be real about it here.
This is going to really make Larry upset. Kaswanajan first met the woman in a, quote, social setting in 2016.
Oh, my gosh.
According to the magistrate's court ruling, quote, over time, their friendship developed, but problems began to arise. In September 2020,
4 years later,
when they, quote, became misaligned about how they saw their relationship, end quote. So this goes back to the year 2016.
Okay, so here are my questions, none of which I have any kind of, and I don't even care what country you're in, any kind of legal, because this seems ridiculous. But it is kind of hard for me to imagine that after 4 years, did he really not get any and was confused about where the relationship stood?
Oh, there's more to answer that question.
Oh, please.
The woman saw Kiswanajan as a friend while he considered her to be, quote, his, quote, closest friend, according to court records, which said that she asked to see him less frequently, which upset him. He said such action would be, quote, taking a step back in their, quote unquote, relationship. She in turn said they needed to set boundaries, urging him to be, quote, self-reliant.
Okay.
He, according to the ruling,
Self-reliant.
I see what you did there. He, quote, did not react well to this. He sent the woman a letter in October of 2020, again, 2020, threatening legal action for damages stemming from, quote, emotional distress and possible defamation. She told him that she was genuinely uncomfortable. He threatened that if she did not comply with his demands, she would face, quote, damages to her personal and professional endeavors, end quote. Here's where it gets even wilder. The woman agreed to participate in counseling sessions with him, which kept his legal threats at bay, according to the court records. But after some 1.5 years of counseling, a year and a half of counseling, she felt the exercises had become meaningless, she said. And he appeared, quote, unable to accept her reasons for not wanting any relationship or association with him.
Did he ever get the booty?
What does it sound like to you, Will?
No, see, that's my question.
It sounds
okay,
like
so
that's a no.
if she is a little bit, there could be maybe some confusion on one end of maybe not understanding what the friends with benefits really entails and what it really means.
I don't think there was none of that going on here.
I feel like that for him to be...
yeah, like if you don't get it at all...
I feel like for him to be this smitten with her, he had to have, and it's just like...
That's exactly my question.
I can't live without it. Like, it's just amazing. Like, but you don't even know, like...
But you don't even know.
Madonna-esque.
The woman did. She obtained a restraining order against him, who then filed the lawsuit in magistrate court while the other case was pending. He said in an email that, quote, as there are still key proceedings ongoing, he would not comment until the case was decided. He has decided to represent himself in both cases.
How is this not immediately thrown out?
Who's going to represent him in that?
Well, I don't like what judge doesn't throw this immediately out.
Now,
I know that we're talking Singapore here, so I'm not up on my,
An associate professor of law at Singapore Management University said, quote, that the case probably has no merits in terms of his claim.
Sounds like my guy just put all his eggs in one basket and got salty.
But he's been at this for 7 years.
Yeah. 7.
I'd say that would qualify under annoying.
Or stalking.
Yeah.
It's the final call next on the Get Right.
Coming up Friday morning on Sean and RJ, Brian Broaddus pays off his G-Bag show bet payoff. He's got to be with us at 5:30 to 10 a.m. Brian Broaddus joins the morning show and our final Brooks and Dunn ticket giveaway during the Expressway Friday morning on The Fan.
one of our biggest fan hangs of the year. Fan Bowl 2023. This Saturday afternoon at Revolver Brewing inside of Texas Live. $3,000 in prize money up for grabs. Which host wins the fan bracket? Roundtable discussions. And, of course, we'll enjoy some delicious Revolver together. We'll see you Saturday at Fan Bowl 2023.
Final time here on the Get Right. We're Reggie KG on 105.3 The Fan. Kevin Gray, Will Chambers, Larry Flores holding it down for you here. Mavericks get the win 111-106 over the New Orleans Pelicans after nearly blowing a 31-point lead. Luka Doncic had to lead the game with a right heel contusion. His status still to be determined. Jason Kidd did say, though, no matter what the outcome of the game was, he was not going to return to tonight's game. We'll get more on that tomorrow. Starting at 5:30 a.m. with Sean, RJ, and Bobby, and Brian Broaddus, who will be on these airwaves literally all day tomorrow to pay off his latest bet.
That dude is in REM 3 by this point.
With the G-Bag Nation. Brian Broaddus all day long here on 105 through the Fan. Sean and RJ, KNC Masterpiece's own show, the G-Bag Nation, and then with myself and Chris Arnold from 7 to 9 p.m. tomorrow. So you don't want to miss that. It's the final call here on the Get Right with Reggie KG before we get to apparently an intervention needed. This
is the biggest thing going across the internet as far as NFL media goes, right?
From the 214 real quick. By the way, Kelsey does say, "What's up, 214?" Because they wanted. I got a text back from Kelsey. Yeah. She said, "Tell him, what's up." So there you go, 214. You wanted to shoot your shot at Kelsey Charles. She responded to you. Sup.
Slide into those DMs.
So there you go. But apparently, Will, there's intervention needed in the world of NFL media these days.
And Tony Romo, his performance has come under some significant scrutiny.
Oh no!
As of late, I noticed this a little bit as far as reaction to him, but I didn't know that it had gone to the fever pitch that it has. Yesterday, Andrew Marchand of the New York Post, who is the country's most preeminent reporter when it comes to sports media and all things that surround it, he had reported that CBS had an intervention this past offseason with Tony Romo. And that CBS had grown so alarmed with Romo's faltering performance that network executives urged him to take the job more seriously and actually prepare. That meeting reportedly took place before the season, and all it did was arguably make Romo worse at his job. This coming from USA Today. Marchand also said that the play-by-play announcer Jim Nantz isn't going to take it upon himself to push Romo in the right direction. Here is Andrew Marchand. Here,
it's coming.
Just a moment on the Fan.
From the 559. Hey, Brian is a G. Let's go, no limit.
Oof. Nah.
Nance is about Nance. He's been like that for a long time. I mean, you see it in the post game when he does the broadcast and then he's going down and doing the podium. I don't understand why Tracy Wolfson or someone else can't do that. That doesn't make sense to me. They have everyone there too, but it's Nance all the time. And so that's number one. Number two is, when you struggle we heard about this was a narrative out of CBS when Romo was getting all the publicity. And then you heard from Nance's side and, people at CBS that Nance was the one creating Romo. And so the issue now is, why isn't Nance helping Romo get to this next level? All that said, Tony Romo needs to study more. You need to be better prepared, because as you move away from the sidelines and not studying tape, you need to do more work. And I know CBS is aware of this. They tried an intervention last off season, they knew, they anticipated this. So that's a credit to them, people in charge there, but it has not gotten better.
Whoa. First off,
no.
So, I took that. I'm reading this, and so of course I sent it over to Larry. Guess who the other person was who I sent that clip over to?
Who?
Sean Sharif. So, man, it looks like Andrew Marchand not pulling any punches as to what he thinks about Jim Nance. This
Sean gonna go hand with that tomorrow morning.
Andrew Joseph from USA Today has this paragraph. With time, Romo has become increasingly separated from the NFL game that he was so familiar with in his debut announcing season.
Oh, no.
And rather than meticulously preparing to learn the evolving nuances of the game, Romo has resorted to hyperbole, noises, and a million, I don't know, Jims, in the place of actual analysis.
Oh, no.
Wow. Okay. So, let us go to my good old friends at Awful Announcing, who just a few minutes ago had tweeted out, CBS says Tony Romo, quote, intervention is a mischaracterization of network executive visits.
Okay.
We just heard all the stuff that, Marchand had to say. And the report of the intervention consisted of separate visits from CBS Sports Chairman Sean McManus and CBS lead NFL game producer Jim Rickoff, who went to Tony Romo's home. Marchand had also said that the meetings included tape review, dinner, and discussions around the broadcast. Now, the person from CBS who was quoted talking about this is not McManus nor Jim Rickoff. It's a CBS spokesperson said, quote, to call this an intervention is a complete mischaracterization. We meet regularly with our on-air talent. That was it. That was the statement.
Okay. Oh, Jim! Oh, Jim! I don't know. Should they go for it? You're on fourth down, Jim.
It did sound like to me that Marchand, not a Nance fan, I don't know. It sounded like maybe a little extra. I don't know, but I will say that Marchand is usually...
He's usually plugged in.
Yeah, man. That's a pretty plugged in dude when it comes to this stuff.
I'm just waiting for Jim Nance to hit Tony with a hit, when he asked him that. Oh, I don't know, Jim. What should they do? I don't know, Tony. They pay you to answer those questions.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Oh, boy. That's wild stuff, man. Been a long NFL season. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow morning.
This kid nailing it with strays.
5:30 a.m. right here on 105 through the Fan. Sean, RJ, and Bobby and Brian Broaddus all day long. From my man Larry Flores.
Get him, B.
Will Chambers. My name is Kevin Gray. This has been the Get Right with Reggie KG on 105 through the Fan. Don't forget to shoot your shot. Y'all be good.
Be a part of the show. Text us on the truckwreck.com fan text line, 877-881-1053. That's 877-881-1053.